deal.
All right. Well, geez, thanks everybody for allowing me to do this story here. I'm not normally in front of the camera as a coach and trainer. I'm used to putting other people in front, so I don't know how entertaining I'll be, but I got a lot of stuff. So one of the things that will help me is this being interactive. If you have questions or you want to chime in on something, it'll actually help move the energy through me because I play off other people's energy. I'm sort of a channel in that way. I discovered that channeling, when I went into the channel coaching itself, it dawned on me that everybody channels. Abraham says that, but it doesn't, when you call it channeling, it doesn't have to necessarily be vocal channeling. I now have a client who is a painter. She channels, only gets into channeling state and she paints. And then others who read the body and receive messages. So I use that term kind of broadly. My channeling, I found out, is through coaching and speaking, training and teaching people. But I only do that if there's somebody on the other side to pull it through. So I'm tapping into your energy, you guys who are here on the line here, and the broader energy of the people who are potentially going to watch this to kind of help me. But I'm inviting you guys to jump on and play with me here. We'll have the best experience. So I am going to start in the middle because that's what they say to do with headlines. You're supposed to start with the thing that actually is most important, and Abraham is the most important thing here in this group. And so I'm going to start with when I was introduced to Abraham, and then we can shift the timeline forward and back depending on what we got time for here. So I'm going to do a screen share. I watched Sanjala's presentation the other day, and I thought it was brilliant how she brought the photos in and everything. And so I spent some time today digging up some photos to share with you guys, and I remember how to press the share button here. And you can tell me if you see it. There we go. Yeah. You guys, you get a full screen on that? Is it not very big? Okay, thank you. All right, so this is my introduction to Abraham, or around the time that I was introduced to it. That right there is a Band-Aid, a very huge Band-Aid. That's me sitting in the hospital. This is 2009. 2008, I was diagnosed with a non-cancerous brain tumor in the behind the right side on my ear nerve. The balance and the hearing and the facial nerve are on that side. And I had been running my IT business, and I was coming home one day, fall of 2008, and my side of my face kind of went numb, and I thought that was kind of weird. It was cold out, but I didn't think anything of it. And so went home, and then it happened again, and I went to see the doctor, and the doctor says, well, you've got something going on here. I said, I want you to see a neurologist right away. So went and saw the neurologist, and the neurologist did a few tests, and they said, you got to get an MRI right away. And so I went and got the MRI, and they said, you got a brain tumor. And let me see if I can pull that up here, if I get this doing it the right way. No, I can't do it here. I'll have to pull it up separately. So they discovered a brain tumor that was about 2 inches in diameter, growing on the balance nerve. And it had been cutting off my facial functions. I was starting to go numb because these 3 nerves are primary. They go right into the brainstem. I had already lost my balance on that side, and I didn't know it because it had been slowly growing. And the brain is a brilliant thing. It adapts. And so I didn't even know I had lost the balance on the right side because the brain had adapted. I noticed that I'd go around the corner quickly and I'd get a little off balance. I thought that was old age. It wasn't. So we went and saw the doctor, and the doctor says, he shows me all these pictures of people who have had this thing, and if they don't get the surgery, their face is all scrunched up and they can't hear, and really hated the doctor. And so I decided that since it wasn't cancerous, there was no hurry, and so I decided to let it go on for months. They said I could as long as I kept having MRIs done. So I tried some holistic healing, and I tried hypnotherapy. I had just been introduced to Abraham, and that's actually the kind of the link, the problem and the solution coming in together. The week after this diagnosis, we were on our way to Niagara Falls. We had a belated honeymoon because we had gotten married the year before, but hadn't really gone on the honeymoon. And a friend of Suzanne's gave her 2 Abraham CDs, 2 workshops, Money and the Law of Attraction and The Vortex. And we popped those in the car, and in the 5-hour drive going up to Niagara Falls, we just played them over and over again. My background's in computers, engineering, science. I really didn't want to have anything to do with it, but I knew enough about energy, and I was really into physics. And so Suzanne convinced me to just listen and listen and listen. And I couldn't poke any holes in it. I was waiting for somebody to jump out from behind the curtain and, with the puppet or something, the Wizard of Oz. But it was pure positive energy. There was no, I couldn't detect anything negative. So that was my introduction. And really that 10-hour drive there and back was really what started the process, kind of started opening my eyes that, boy, there's actually something beyond me in the physical body that I'm running around in. And I used to think that's all that there was. So as time went on that year, moving to summer of 2009, had another MRI, and the thing was growing. Now I was starting to get pain in my brainstem as I was getting headaches. My hearing was starting to get a little fuzzy, and it was like really starting to get stressed about it. We went to our first Abraham seminar. We drove to Chicago. It was. That's another 5 hours in the opposite direction from here. And in Chicago, I wanted to ask a question, and I put my hand up, but I was having these bad headaches. I couldn't even keep my eyes open. I was just meditating. And 2 amazing things happened. The first was when I was sitting there kind of looking at Esther, all of a sudden I saw this cloud of consciousness over Esther's head. I could actually see Abraham. And it was the first time, it's really the only time spontaneous like that I've actually seen that kind of a vision. But it was really deep, and it was just like that, like, this is the real thing here, Kevin. You're in the right place. And then somebody, there was a woman there who asked a question about her son who had a brain tumor, it turns out. And they gave her some advice, and it didn't directly pertain to me. But then right on the heels of that, then there was another lady who was asking about something completely off the subject of the brain tumor, but it had to do with physical pain. And Abraham said, paraphrasing, "In your pain, you must remain in hopefulness." And all of a sudden, I'm getting really choked up about this. I saw those words painted over Esther's head, like big gold letters. And I was like, that was the solution. You have to separate out the pain of the experience with the emotion that you're feeling. It was the first time I had ever really identified that, and I had not made that connection. And so I was encouraged that there was hope here. And I realized when we got back that I was going to die if I didn't get this surgery. If I was going to get the surgery, I was going to lose my hearing because they pull you all apart. But it was like, okay, you know what? But I'm going to have my life, and I can do without the hearing on this side. The balance is already gone. I know I'm going to be fine in the surgery. And so as soon as I let that go, I let go of the idea of having to have surgery. Then 2 weeks later, remember the first doctor I hated. He was so arrogant, and he was just going to cut me open. And oh, by the way, you'll lose your hearing, and too bad. So I didn't want to go to him, but I didn't have a solution. And so a friend shows up and they say, because this is a very rare tumor. There's 2,000 cases in a year of this rare tumor. It's called an acoustic neuroma. And and a friend of mine says, yeah, I know somebody who just had that surgery right here in Michigan. In fact, half hour from here. And so we went and talked to this person, and turned out they had it done in a local hospital. And turns out that, see, we were going to go to California, which is where they do all these specific neurological surgeries. It's the biggest place in the country is in California, and we're in Michigan. Well, it turns out that the second largest place is right here in Michigan. And the place that does the neurological work Providence Hospital, which was in Southfield, moved to Novi, the city we live in, and opened a state-of-the-art neurological facility 3 months earlier. And all the doctors came with them, and then they had brand new equipment. So we went and saw that doctor, who was actually in the same office as the one I hated, and we loved him. He was a really nice guy, really compassionate, understood everything. And so we were 10 minutes from our house. It was the hospital. So we scheduled a surgery for September 2009. I had the surgery. This is the day after. Everything went smoothly. It was a 7-hour surgery. They cut me open, and I'll show you a couple more gruesome pictures here in a second. Don't worry, they won't be that bad. And I recovered very quickly. I lost my balance, and people who have their balance nerve pulled out are typically on their back for like 6 weeks, because that sudden shock in the system of losing your balance makes you sick. Well, I'd already lost it. So I was up and walking around the next day. I mean, carefully, of course. And so it was the awareness that things can work out when you let go. That was the biggest moment I had in June, when I had the awareness that I had to let go of me clinging to this surgery and let it go. And then everything clicked right into place for the surgery. Had the greatest team. Everything worked out. I had a month off to recuperate, and I was afraid my business was going to go away, because I am self-employed. I owned an IT company at the time, and a very small business. And 3 months later, by January the following year, my business had doubled. Remarkable, remarkable stuff. It's like you got to kind of have that experience. You got to kind of be slapped by the universe a few times to really get it, that everything can really work out. And up to that point, though, it had all been mind-based, linear, logical, and very highly resistant to pretty much everything, because my upbringing was pretty negative, and I'll share a little bit about that if there's time about it. We've all had our traumas from childhood. I think that's what gives us the intuitive gift sometimes. We turn inward and really get focused to protect ourselves, and that turning in actually often opens up that connection more than a lot of people have. So I was very thankful in the long run that I have no regrets at all about that. I wouldn't have it any other way. And having lost hearing on this side, took a while to adapt. Now I don't even know it's gone, because my intuition is kicked up. And now I've become much more intuitive. And now doing the channel coaching and so forth, I rely on this connection for the work I do, and it's just a really magical thing. I'll show you another picture here. I think I got one. No, I actually got I got a couple I want to show you. See, there's a faster way I can do this. Yeah, maybe not. That is the brain scan. You can see this white thing kind of off the slightly left center. That was the tumor. The balance nerve goes from the brain to you can see the ear off to the side. So that was the MRI of that. And then got this picture here. This is one of my favorite pictures. Me and my constant companion, who besides Suzanne, of course, helped get me through all this. This is Roxy, our virtual dog now. She transitioned a couple years ago, but she actually took on some of my symptoms. It's pretty funny. There have been times over the years where if I hurt my shoulder or I'd hurt my wrist, she'd start limping in exactly the same way. When I went through the surgery, if you've ever had surgery, one of the more interesting side effects is your body shuts down. It's highly traumatizing. So everything just kind of grinds to a halt. And I was constipated for like a good 5 days before things freed up. And so was she. We both had a lot of relief on that 6th day, I want to tell you. It's pretty amazing. And then one more here. This will be. So I hope you haven't eaten recently. Yeah, I was like a door. They just cut that open. It was like a hinge. They hinged it open, reached in there, and pulled that nerve, the nerve out and the tumor, and it's remarkable to me. It's like mind blowing when you know how fine those nerves are, and the fact that they could keep me alive and do that and not have, damaged me permanently. The only side effect that occurred later, in fact, I might as well tell you a little bit about this as well. See if I can find it. Here we go. In 2012, early 2012, an MRI showed that the tumor, which they hadn't been able to get all out, was starting to grow back again. And of course, now in retrospect, knowing what I know about vibration, it was because I hadn't really released the vibration that caused the tumor. And those of you who are familiar with Louise Hay material, she, over many years, created this list of emotional traumas and illnesses, body illnesses. If you haven't read You Can Heal Your Life, it's a magnificent book. It's one of our staples in our library. And she documented this over many years when she was a therapist. And of course, we know that with Abraham now, whatever the vibrational content of the energy that you're holding, it has to manifest identically somewhere in your environment. The body's the first responder. So all illnesses and conditions are just vibrational reflections based on whatever the frequency is and the content, and the body is very intelligent. It picks up and mirrors exactly what the thought content is. And what I learned from the Louise Hay book is that brain tumors, anything in the brain, is based on the computer. Well, I was a computer guy for 30 years, of course, not a surprise. A tumor itself is playing the old stories over and over and over again. And I had a lot of resentment, a lot of people taking advantage of me. I didn't know why. I'd get sucked into something. I'd lost tens of thousands of dollars in several business deals. I had relationships break up. And all of a sudden, I'd be left hanging the bag, holding the bag, and then I'd be really angry, and I'd play the story over and over and over again. Well, tumors are the storage for that. This tumor was cystic. It was liquid filled. You look up the definition for cyst. It's the same thing as tumor. It's something where you're holding on to resentment and playing the story over and over and over again. And it had to go exactly there. It couldn't have gone anywhere else in my body. That was the exact manifestation. So I hadn't been able to clean up that vibration completely, and so the tumor kept growing because they couldn't get the whole thing out. So I had to go in for another kind of treatment, which was, to me, was even more fascinating than the surgery. And it was called a fractal radiation, gamma radiation, where they actually put a helmet onto your head and they point 100 gamma rays at the exact spot of the tumor, the exact tiny micro spot of the tumor. They plot this all out in 3 dimensions, and they've got scientists and physicists there to point those beams so that they all coalesce at exactly the tumor. And so I went in June of 2012 to have that process done. And I'll show you this one. Don't worry, this isn't gross. It might be a little gross. Remind you of anybody? Clarice? Hannibal Lecter? Yeah, that's actually attached to my bone. This thing holds my head exactly still, and then they stuff me into this machine which locks it in place, and then these gamma rays, this huge machine focuses these gamma rays on the tumor. And it was painless except for having the thing attached to my head. But what was pretty interesting is that when I went back then, they showed that when they did the MRI, the tumor was dead. So that had killed the tumor. Interestingly, about, it was in February of 2012, 4 months before I actually had the procedure, I was questioning, should I have this procedure? Sounds risky, can I just maybe get rid of the tumor myself? And I wasn't sure. And then we found out that Abraham was having a workshop. Esther was coming back online and going to open her home in San Antonio for anybody to come, and you could have the workshop on Saturday, and then on Sunday, you got to see Esther's estate in San Antonio after Jerry had passed. And it just, all the lights were flashing. It's like, okay, we got to get on a plane. We got on a plane, we flew down, and just had a magnificent experience, got to sit in the audience, and boom, Kevin gets in the hot seat. And I asked about the I was starting to ask about, I wanted to know about this medical procedure. Should I have this procedure here done? And Abraham wouldn't let me get a word out. All they did was start focusing on fun. Damn it. And then they'd tell the story of Esther and how she loved the San Antonio Spurs and how much fun it was and how much fun they were out there. And my hair was blowing back. I mean, I couldn't get a word out edgewise. There was so much energy coming at me. I didn't understand this until later that, of course, that's what I needed, because I was so logical and so in my head about making this decision that I wouldn't have felt the right decision. It didn't matter which the decision was, whether I went there or didn't go there. You know, it's about how you line up with it. That's the most important thing. And so, interestingly, this is back when they were doing live streams. We came home from that weekend, got to meet Esther, and I'll show you a picture of that as well, in that gorgeous estate. Came home on Monday, and the replay was still available on the live stream. So we recorded the live stream. And I got a picture of myself on the hot seat. Pays to be a tech guy. Yeah, let's see here, my favorite picture. Our favorite lady. Esther. We've been on a lot of cruises with these guys. This is the Tex Asian house that they have in San Antonio. It's just gorgeous back here. I wish we could have gotten a picture of the whole house. We couldn't get that many pictures. Wanted to be respectful, you know, of Esther. She was just opening up to people after Jerry had passed, and she was very hospitable. There were a couple hundred people there. It was very nice. One of those memories I will take with me. So that was that's what kind of got me kicked off with the Abraham material. It wasn't exactly the smooth sailing kind of thing that you want it to be, but sometimes, you know, your resistance is so big. This is what I've come to learn, and I'm sure you guys all know this. You know, it doesn't matter how big the resistance is, the universe is going to match it. I was thinking about this. I had another situation, and then I'm happy to, if you get questions, please jump in anytime. I had another situation when we were in Cancun. We've been on all the land cruises, and I was not in a good state of mind. And we ended up being on the beach, and I let myself get all stressed out about leaving the business and for a week. And every time, a whole week beforehand, I'd stress myself out, and I wasn't having a very good. I couldn't get into the energy of the Abraham event. We're laying on the beach, and it's windy out in Cancun, and I got my arms down, I got my head down, you know, there's a umbrella up there, and a big gust of wind comes along, lifts the umbrella out of the pole, out of the holder, and lands it right across the back of my head. The whole pole just lands, but because of the way my arms were, my arm took most of the pole. I got smacked in the back of the head. I got kind of bloodied there and almost knocked me out, but I could have been killed by that. But what that taught me was how precise the universe is in matching the vibration that you need to get your attention. Never more, never less. Exactly an exact match. I could have been more seriously hurt, and I was in Mexico. Last thing I want to do is go to a Mexican hospital. You know, from the things I've heard, that I might have died there. You know, who knows? At least that's what I've been told. So I was thankful. I had a Mexican doctor came. He wrapped me up, gave me some pills, and sent me on my way. And I lightened up for the rest of the trip. So I'm talking a lot here. Any questions on any of that? Any comments before I go off in some other direction?
From the group, any reference to Mexico is a reference to me. Everybody knows that I am manifesting moving to Mexico. I love the country, and every time anybody knows in the group, I hear Mexico like a buzzword to me. Not now, let anybody else say what they want.
Well, of course, it was no insult to Mexico. One of my best friends is Mexican, and we met in a Dale Carnegie course. But that being said, this is just what I was told when I was there. So, whatever.
I have a comment, Kevin.
Okay, Dory, shut it up. You take it.
Kevin?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever seen those commercials where they go, I could have had a V8?
Yep, exactly.
It's like the
It was a little
umbrella.
harder than that, but
Right. But, you know, it was just hard enough to say, I could have had a resistance-free beach moment.
yeah, yep, yep. Well, you'd think that I would have learned that was in 2013, I want to say. And, I'm a slow learner, but I'm getting there.
You're wonderful, and I'm loving this talk,
Yeah,
and I'm
you're a
loving
sweetheart.
everything you're going. And whenever you were talking about the tumor, and especially when you came to terms with why it grew, that you were grinding away with resentment, and that your brain was spinning, and then it kind of caused a callus to grow on your brain because it was like spinning a resentment. I was like, wow, that reminds me of my first ever aid quote when I heard of Abraham Hicks, and I signed up for the email quote to come, or the quote of the day to come to my email inbox. And the first ever quote that ever came to me, it says, they may not deserve to have you think good thoughts about, I'm paraphrasing, they may not deserve to have you think good thoughts about them, but you deserve to have think good thoughts about them. Yeah. And I'm getting chills now because that just drives it home all to another new full big another level.
Yay, darling.
And I already had that as being a very important quote as far as just a happy good day, but now it could be like medically important.
Yeah, well, it was my big lesson was that the body really is the first responder to vibration. I'd put up
and not just in a comfort way, but like obviously a life and death way. Yeah. And I think that's a really cool scar, and you should show it off a bunch.
Well, I'd have to shave myself back here.
Yeah, I would keep it shaved, and I would even put makeup or eyeliner and accent that. And if you don't mind sending Karen the JPEG of you posing in the backyard, and include that in the after show party post, if you want.
Sure, I'll send you, Karen, you just send me whatever you want, and I'll be happy to forward it to you.
Yay! Yeah. Thank you.
There's a number of pictures here that I part of my journey, and I'll share that in a second, is that I haven't shared with many people at all. It's just not my nature is to be out in front of people and just saying, here's Kevin. But I've been more kicked in the butt by a number of channeling sessions. I've had hundreds of channeling sessions in the last 5 years since I got on this path with a variety of different channels. And the latest ones are really kicking me to get out in front and show people all sides of me, because I tend not to do that. They have other plans for me. I keep hearing there's bigger audiences and more information that I'm supposed to be delivering, but you can't do it when you're hiding behind the screen, it's just one of those things that the reason I said yes to doing this, and I'm sure the reason it showed up, thank you, Dory, very much, co-created here, is that I've got to be practicing this. And so the universe then lines it up when I release the resistance, and boom, here we all are. So I greatly appreciate that. Go ahead.
Hi, Kevin. It's Sheila. I had a question for you about the event you went to at Abraham Hicks' property, because I think we were at the same event.
Really?
Yeah, I think because it was the one that they did right after Jerry had croaked, I think. Yeah. And they sent an email out about it, announcing they were going to have and to me, the email was like yelling at me, like, yes, come to this thing.
Exactly.
Is that how you'd felt? Okay. And then, so we were at the same event, and I was in the hot seat as well. Yeah. And so I wanted to just say two things. First, I was curious to confirm if we were at the same event, because I think, what was her name? Barbara. They had margaritas and stuff set up, and people were out and about.
Food everywhere. Yeah.
Really awesome. When I went into Jerry's office, when I was walking through the house, I felt like there was very few people in the house, and I sat in his office across from his desk, and I felt like I could see the image of Jerry, like pixelated, but sort of like a matrix version of Jerry sitting there, and just had a little exchange. It was really beautiful. So
are you intuitive like that, Sheila?
Let's say yes to that.
Okay.
I almost said no, or I don't know, but I'd rather say yes to that. I mean, I've had a couple other visions, but this was such a wonderful, like, feeling of his presence, sort of like if you smell a smell from your childhood or something. It had that kind of feeling to it. And so I found it interesting that I was drawn to come hear your talk today. I mean, I've been enjoying participating in these talks, but now I understand part of the reason to be drawn to is because we were sort of drawn to the same event before.
That's amazing.
And then my second part of that was I've started a Hot Seaters Facebook group. So
I think I'm in that.
I mean, I just started it.
Was that
so
recently?
You may be in, yes, like a month, within the past month. So I didn't know if there was another group. It's called Abraham Hicks, Hot Seat or Hot Seaters or something.
This was
and I
brand
thought it'd
new.
be a nice.
I bet it was yours.
Okay. And then I thought it would be nice incubator to have topics from, to fun place to discuss.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. And I'm pretty sure I actually posted something in there. I think
okay,
maybe
I
on
will
your
check.
Intro. Yeah, that's how cool.
I will check. Thank you
Love
so much.
the synchronicities, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, any other comments there before I run off in some other direction? I was going to mention I've been in the hot seat 6 times, and it seems like every one has something to do with illness or something around that. And it was interesting. I was just thinking about that when I was thinking about the Cancun experience where I got hit on the head. The next time we were in Cancun, I got sick. And a lot of the times when we go on these cruises, the first couple of days I'm sick. And again, it's that whole thing. I'm making myself sick by being stressed out. And when we got to Cancun this time, I was sick for a couple of days in bed. I could not get out of bed. And I finally was fed up with myself and went to the workshop and shot my hand up, and boom, I got called up to the hot seat. And I asked them about this. Why, what is it? What am I doing that's making me sick in this most glorious place here? And they just reminded me that it's, when you've got negative momentum going and then you move into a very positive environment, it can also then amplify the negative side because it tries to move in that direction. And they asked me, why is it that you, what is it that's stressing you out? Oh, I got to send emails out. And I said, well, don't you like sending emails? Don't you like communicating with your people? And they turned every argument I had, they turned it around positively, dang it. And it really got me to see how important it is to, particularly when you're getting into something you're getting excited about, the stress that we put ourselves under to get there is going to dampen the experience. And I hadn't really, Abraham, the cruises and the workshops are some of the most fun I've ever had, back then. I'm more fun now in some of the other areas, but it was like the most exciting thing. And so I was so enamored in doing that I would then bunch up the stress leading up to it. Pretty fascinating stuff. In fact, I was just thinking now the same thing in Alaska. The first time we went to Alaska, I had more energy than ever. And I had dreams about being shot at with a gun when I'm on the boat. And again, put my hand up. Abraham picked me out of the audience. I said, what's up with this? I'm having dreams of being chased by somebody having a gun. And they said, well, when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. When you know what you do want, you'll also more clearly know what you don't want. Again, it's the same thing. It starts to amplify, and I'm actually now kind of tying this together. I had quite correlated with the Cancun hot seat experience, that the more you amplify the positive side, the negative stuff you haven't dealt with that's just under the surface now gets activated. It wants to entrain to that vibration. Anything that's close enough to be released will pop up and it'll get your attention. So it's just a reflection of stuff that I was still hanging on to, a little residual stuff leading up to that, and didn't mean anything. It just was an awareness that I was still carrying some stuff, and it was just made brighter by the fact I was in this magnificent Alaskan environment. It's so fascinating and so logical, mind-blowing. So that is Kevin and his brain tumor story. I'll show you a little bit about my past. I don't like to go into the past too much, but this is part of my journey now, getting myself comfortable with my past, which I had a lot of emotional trauma in my upbringing. I don't remember a lot of my childhood. A lot of stuff got stuffed down very early. This is one of the few pictures I have of Kevin, who is smiling. And I got my trusty dog right there. That's Toby. It's interesting how now that I'm looking back on this, and I'm just having some awarenesses like right now, how much having a dog, and interesting, always a black dog about the same size, since I was a little kid, right up till Roxy died a couple years ago, has been so instrumental in my staying alive and being able to come back to my vibrational core. You know, animals are pure positive energy. And these dogs have been remarkably important. Like I told you about Roxy, taking on my vibration, my illnesses in her own body as kind of a reflection, maybe as a way to get my attention. And let's see, think about the only other thing kind of in my far past is high school. And this is, I'm sharing these pictures here because they make me uncomfortable. So one of the things that I learned about myself on this journey is how tuned I am to vibration. And all of you guys are, because you wouldn't be in this group, you wouldn't be doing this work if that weren't the case. My tuning came because my dad was very angry, explosive, unpredictable, narcissistic. And I learned to shut down at a very early age my emotional side. But the places that I could express that had to do with music, because music's vibrational. I hadn't really tied that together, but it has to do with just everything being in alignment. I could always tell when music was slightly out of tune. If anybody's singing out of tune, I can tell when rhythms are slightly off. It's all part of that hyper tuning that now I see as a huge gift, and that I can use in my coaching and my channeling kinds of work. It's that sensitivity to vibration. I didn't call it that at the time. But one of my greatest joys in high school was playing the guitar and playing instruments. I was in the high school percussion band, and I had piano lessons, and I also played guitar. I got tired of playing Bach and Bartok and Beethoven on the piano, so I bought a guitar. And this is Kevin in our performing band, Purple Haze, in a show called Battle of the Bands. 1977. The guy in the back is one of our roadies who moves all the equipment around. It's me playing my Les Paul imitation guitar. I was the lead guitarist in the band. And
Kevin, sorry
yes.
to interrupt for a second.
Say again?
Purple Haze. I
Yeah.
love Hendrix.
I can't hear you, Jonathan. Say again.
Sorry, Kevin. I was just saying, Purple Haze. I love Hendrix.
Ah, yes. Yes. Well, that's the obvious namesake for the band. Our drummer came up with the name. I'll just show you now. Let's see. Maybe I can just buzz through these. Let me see if it'll. Hey, there we go. I figured out how to do this. Can you see the next picture? Okay. That's me in the. That's the bass player.
I've got the Star Spangled Banner. Hendrix play it through my mind.
Okay. Well, I never had a Stratocaster, and I could never play like Hendrix, but he was one of my.
He is a legend.
Absolutely. One of the best. And then this is us on stage, Kevin, a bass player and a rhythm guitarist, and then a drummer who had this huge 8-piece drum set that his mother bought him. And then that's the from behind the crowd. That's what some of the most enjoyable moments of my life were, playing in bands and being able to be completely free spirit as a guitarist, because there's no restrictions, there's no limitations. You're just doing your dangdest to have a good time.
Yeah.
So thank you for indulging me on that. That was something that I needed to share. It's a part of me that has not been expressed in a long time.
Sorry to interrupt again. I love music in all aspects, Kevin. And, you know, Hendrix is a legend to me, but I'm happy listening to Hendrix. I'm happy listening to a show tune, whatever raises the vibration. I'm shutting up.
There you go. Well, I appreciate your feedback, Jonathan. You and I are on the same page. I came to love jazz, progressive jazz, jazz rock music, anything that's got complex melodies, harmonies, and rhythms, odd time signatures. It's one of those things that, as you said, it helps my vibration, and it actually pulls me, particularly complex music, pulls me to another level of alignment in order to keep up with it and to appreciate it and to feel the energy that the musicians are delivering. I have to get into that state. I have to keep up with them. And I found music, I lost it for a long time. I kind of, you know, when we got married, Suzanne and I have been married 12 years now, you know, you get onto other things and sometimes you kind of forget what was important. And then I went back to that and kind of found this, and it's been really kind of like a second win. And so one of the things I did when my mom had passed, she left us some things, some gold coins, which I ended up selling, and I was able to buy an electronic drum set. I played drums since ninth grade. I couldn't, in our high school, my parents both played piano. They had full-time jobs otherwise, but they both insisted that my sister and I play instruments, and there wasn't guitar, there wasn't piano, there wasn't bass guitar in the high school band, so the only thing left was drums. So I took some drum lessons and played drums, and I became the first chair in the high school. It was one of my most favorite experiences in high school. Didn't like much of the rest of it, but that was fun. And so I bought this electronic kit here. All these are sensors, and I put my headphones on, and then they're just rubber, so it's very quiet. Doesn't have to bother Suzanne or anybody else in the house, but I can play music into my headphones and I get to play. So that's one of my little respites.
Kevin.
Yes.
I'm a bit of a singer. People know in the group I'm a bit of a singer.
Ah.
Not brilliantly, but if you was to say, what's your instrument, Jonathan? It would be the drums.
Really?
Yes.
Do you have a drum set?
Unfortunately not, and not an electronic drum set either. Peter Gabriel, as you know, Genesis original drummer, before he became a lead singer, a bit of an inspiration.
Was he, now he was a singer. Did he play drums too?
Oh, no, sorry.
Phil Collins, maybe.
Phil Collins, thank
Yes.
you, Kevin. Phil Collins, as you know, he was the drummer before he went into singing.
Right. And he was one of the most soulful drummers. He didn't have as much technique as some of the faster drummers, but I think Phil Collins knew how to put the right rhythm behind the music to really bring it forward. So any good musician is not standalone. That's the thing I think I love about musicians. Is that you have to communicate and connect with energetically the people you're playing with in order to really create a good tune, particularly improvisation. That's my favorite. Making stuff up as you go. Sort of like life, right?
Phil Collins couldn't keep up with Cozy Powell, but that's another story.
For another time.
Yes. Shutting up.
Yes. So let's see. So what else do you want to know about me? Probably not much. Got married the first time in 1985 just so I could get out of the house away from my parents. Ended up being sort of a mistake for 14 years. But I learned a lot about myself. That's where I started my understanding of motivational materials. I found Wayne Dyer and Tony Robbins and all that in the early 80s. And I think that really saved me in the marriage because I had stuff to look forward to. The highlight, certainly of my marriage, was the birth of my amazing daughter, Becky. And I got two pictures of her. That's Becky right there. She's 31 right now. Such an amazing young lady. She's actually now she's a professional soccer coach. She's played since she was 5 years old, and she's actually also the recruiter for her. They have a traveling team for girls and boys, ages I think about 5 on up to a high school age. And she works with the 6 and 7-year-old girls, and they win state cups and championships because she knows law of attraction. She's been around her dad long enough to have figured this out, and she's really aligned with what she does. She loves the girls, and she's very, very direct with them, and she's very structured, and she tells them what she expects. And if they don't do what she expects, then they don't get to play. And yet she's very fair, and I'm very proud of where she's come and how she's embraced this without really knowing Abraham and that kind of thing. She's not so much into that, but she's most definitely into the ideas behind it. And that's one of my favorite pictures, when she was, I think, about a year old or so. We used to, it was again one of the highlights of being married the first time, was getting to play with the daughter. And now that Suzanne's got grandkids, my daughter hasn't had any children yet. She's going to get married this year. I get to play with the grandkids. And if you guys looked on my Facebook post recently in the last few months, but another granddaughter came along, Olivia, and I got to tell you, I've never really had that don't even really know what to call it. It's like a soul connection with a child like that. My own daughter, of course, we're very connected, but I was there. We visited the day that Olivia was born, and we all got to hold her on her chest, and when she would lay on me, all the energy just stopped. Like all the fussing, everything would just settle into nothing. And every time that we've been together, she just goes into the peaceful state, and she's still only 3 months old, I think. And yet I don't say anything to her, and yet we have eye contact, and there's this, and you can just feel this massive energy field. So I'm sure we've known each other in many other lifetimes. But it's almost like it opens up something in you that you forget is there, that the innocence, that purity. They don't have the polluted thoughts that we do yet. And so just like animals always do, they just radiate this energy. That even convinced me to research something called baby cuddling, which there are actually volunteers who do this at hospitals for children who are born to drug addicted women, because the women can't take care of the child at that time because they're going through rehab or whatever. And so the babies need attention. And it turns out there's a whole lot of things that you got to do to get there. They don't just let anybody come in and hold their babies, off the street. But I didn't even know that existed. And like, what a cool idea that is. And who knows, maybe something will open up at some point. All these vibrational lessons that we get, if you just look for them and open up to them, it's just pretty remarkable stuff. I might as well show you my vibrational pet, Roxy. She was, I think, probably 2 when Suzanne and I got married, and she lived until she was 15, and just a couple years ago, and then passed. Told us when she was ready to go. That's after getting her butt in a skunk. We call her Yo-Dog. She's the Jedi warrior there. Not very happy, but it serves her right. She taught me how to sleep, not give a crap about the bed. She would sleep about halfway out the bed, even though she could fit in it. And then with one of her favorite toys. This one of my favorite pictures. She always had a toy in her mouth, no matter what she was doing. She'd always bring it over, and then she'd get you to play. She'd come over and drop it in front of me and just stick the ears up. She knew that I was in a grumpy mood, and she wouldn't let me go until I would run around the house and try to chase her. I think she thought it was probably amusing, like I could possibly keep up with her. I love dogs. Can't wait till we get another one. We're waiting for the right dog to find us. Suzanne and I have talked about it, and done a little bit of looking, but you just gotta, when the universe has the right pairing. It's one of the things that this year has been really, valuable to me because a lot of things changed at the beginning of this year. I've been a coach since 2013. That's when I got trained. But I was never able to quite get enough clients to make the business work. And I love coaching. I love the process of coaching. ICF, International Coach Federation coaching is magical to me. And it's very law of attraction based. And it's the foundation of what I do when I help channels, because I stay off the playing field. I'm not doing any of the work. The client is always doing 100% of the work. My job is to provide the environment where they can find alignment. And what was I going to say about that? Getting into the coaching, I was never able to quite make it work. And what I realized this year, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have had this experience or are going through it now, what I finally realized was I've always loved the channeling process. Since I learned about Abraham back in 2008, it's just the most fascinating thing on earth to me. The idea that you're connecting into some other radio station, some other consciousness, just by shifting your thoughts, and you can get any information you want. Every thought that's ever been thought is still out there. And I worked with channels, helped them throughout my coaching. Somebody who would channel would pop up, and I'd help them out get going, and then they'd channel for me, and I get these wonderful sessions. But I never believed I could make a career out of it. It's just like too esoteric. Like who's gonna show up and want to learn to channel or step into whatever their purpose is, with me as a coach. And so I had that resistance, and it wasn't until a year ago at this time, and I got really sick, and I don't get sick anymore. Vibrationally, the allergies, the stomach stuff, the headaches, it's all gone. Like vibrationally, I just, I've let it all go, but I was really sick. And I finally realized I've got to step into what I've wanted to do for a long time, which is teach a program on developing intuition, which is the precursor to channeling and getting tuned into yourself. And you guys, again, I'm not telling you anything you probably don't already know. And so,
tell me something I don't already know.
Okay.
You will notice my online name, Jonathan Julius.
Mm-hmm. You have a split personality?
Jonathan is my human self.
Mm.
Julius is to me as Abraham is to Esther. Nothing else said. Shutting up.
Perfect. Yeah. So you've identified your spiritual guides, your channeled connection.
The name came to me, and anybody in the group knows this. It's because I'm a big Star Wars fan. I went looking into, like Jerry went looking to what Theo meant. I went looking to what Julius meant. Julius being Sky Master.
Interesting. Did not know that.
Yeah. Let me finish the story. Big Star Wars fan. Sky Master is so close to Skywalker. You got it, Kevin.
I'm a big fan too.
Glad to hear.
Yep. High five. Heck yes. So it's interesting that when I decided to step into creating this program on developing intuition, I'm not thinking I am a channel at that time. Why am I teaching a course on intuition? But I was so strongly drawn to it, I had to go and do it. And so I put it out there, had 5 people come to my house every week, and we practiced intuition. I showed them what channeling was about. I played some channeling clips from several fairly well-known channels, Wendy Kennedy and Daniel Scranton, who's a friend of mine, and of course Esther Hicks. And several of them started picking up messages. They had never done this before. In fact, one of them identified, I played a musical clip, but with no video. And I said, I want you to tell me who's playing. Like, draw me a picture of the person who's playing. And this one lady said, because they were all saying, oh, it's an older gentleman and playing this jazz piece. And so one lady said, no, it's a 12-year-old boy. Said, yeah, it was a 12-year-old boy. He's a prodigy from Indonesia who plays some of the the best jazz improvisation since John Coltrane. He's playing John Coltrane's pieces better than John Coltrane. This boy had no piano lessons. He taught himself. And so he's channeling, big time he's channeling. And the person in my course identified him just by picking that up, by getting into the peaceful state. I do guided meditations and talk people into that energy connection. And she surprised herself. She's actually Catholic and is making kind of a transition. And she was freaked out. What the hell happened to me? This is normal. You can relax. But it was when that happened, I realized that I love this. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm supposed to do. And in around May or so, and it was probably end of April, I said, you know what? I'm going to start helping people as a channeling coach. But I'm not. So the big clue was, I'm going to be the coach. I'm trained as a coach. I'm really good as a coach. I have the toolkit as that. So that's the centerpiece. But I'm going to include channeling development as a separate component based on all the experience, thousands of hours of Abraham CDs that we have and workshops and cruises and all that. I know a lot about it. Why don't I use that? So adding this in, and then business and tech. I've been had a business for 30 years of one kind or another. And I was in IT. So these are the things that the people who are going into this don't have. In fact, the people who are right-brained and tend to be very connected to spiritual energy are often, their feet aren't even on the ground a lot of the time. So they have a really hard time organizing credit cards and Zoom, for instance, or calendar systems and all that. Well, I do that second nature. And so channel coaching was born, becoming the package of, come in the door. If you got an inkling of a gift, I'll help you develop it. We'll put you together a business. You can be making money helping people with the thing that you love to do. It's like, boom. And then Ramona Gailey and Hallie Giles shows up, like within 2 weeks of each other. And the first session for both of them, they're channeling. It's just like, boom, somebody comes through. Because they were ready. I mean, they were like bursting at the seams. I just had to, poke the balloon and everything popped out. But what an incredible experience. And Hallie, I don't share who I work with. I have strict confidentiality rules as part of the ICF Code of Ethics. But they have both shared publicly that they work with me. So then I can share it with other people. And Hallie is still with me. We still have occasional sessions when she's ready to go to another incredible leap. And now clients, my schedule's almost full. I haven't advertised. I mentioned it once on Facebook. I haven't advertised, haven't marketed. They're just showing up. It's like every week I have a discovery session and then somebody else signs up for a package of channeling. And so now I'm looking at what's the next step, what's going to be the expansion of this, group classes. I love doing Zoom sessions. I've done lots of sessions for other kinds of things before. Is it going to be in person? I don't know. For the first time in my life, I don't even care. I'm not even trying to figure it out. My head doesn't go much past tomorrow. And for an IT guy, that's like 180 degrees turn.
Kevin, could I ask who, this is a little bit of a side question, but who do you write the promotional material, the marketing material for the folks that you channel, you coach? Because I've got to say, it is stunning. It is so well done. And I just wondered, who the heck does that? Is that you?
You have to be a little bit more specific. I don't, like I said, I don't market. I actually don't believe in marketing.
Okay, you don't. Okay, I get it. Well, so I'll just say it's Ramona. Ramona sends out occasional updates, and there's a link where a person can go to have a session with her. And
well, I set that all up initially. I set up the
okay.
website and the Facebook page and the YouTube channel, and I did about 40 of the videos. I edited them in beginning and ending. And
I'm going to interrupt.
yes.
Good to know. Thanks.
Julius wouldn't seek for any financial gain from this. He would do it for...
I'm sorry, say again, financial?
Julius I do not seek any financial gain from this. This would be me for helping people where they are in their journey. Their journey is their choice after all. But if I could throw out any advice that helps them, so be it. We are complete.
And so I'm not sure if I understood what that message is about. You're saying that you don't receive money? Obviously, Julius is non-physical. They probably don't have a need for money.
Julius is my inner being.
Right.
The name came to me from a moment of meditation and requesting the name. It came to me. But unlike Esther, I couldn't do it for financial gain. Yet if I could help someone, so be it.
Okay, that's great. Lee Carroll, who channels Cryon, is the same way. Cryon was very specific that any of the channeled material had to be given away for free. And then Lee would make his money based on giving seminars based on what Lee knows. And he still does that today. Been doing that for almost as long as Esther has. And yet there are other people, in fact, I'd say most of the other people who are doing some sort of channeling work need to pay their bills, and this is their primary gift. I have a belief that energy, it always has to be matched in terms of flow. And law of attraction makes that so. And however you're sending out information, energy, value, you have to receive it back because it's the same channel, it's the same valve. And so I've known so many spiritual people who have said, oh, it's wrong to actually accept money. And I'm not saying that Julius is saying that. I understand there's a difference here. But one of the things that I have to work through with people is they feel unworthy of receiving the money, and then they mute the gift. And they can't channel and be the benefit because they're not being the flow through of the energy itself. And it doesn't have to be money. It can be from a lot of different resources. But you got to be really careful to be sure that your valve is open and that you receive. This was one of my biggest lessons because I've had a lot of unworthiness issues in my life. Being able to charge anything for coaching was very difficult for me at first. And I didn't charge, I did it for free. And then I got a bunch of crappy clients because I wasn't being discerning of my own energy. And then the more discerning I became and the more clients that I fired who were not a good fit, then it made room and my confidence grew, and now I charge a decent rate and I have the most fun clients on the planet. I'm having more fun, it's more rewarding, more tears, more energy releases than I even thought was possible in sessions. And I can't imagine doing it any other way. You got to find your own balance in it. Thank you, Jonathan.
I have a question.
Please.
Or maybe some questions for everybody. I don't know if you can type in the answer to this question or just yell it out or whatever. Has anybody thought about channeling themselves? Just think of, isn't it kind of fascinating, the idea of channeling? And I think probably anybody that's listening here has had at some point, at some times thought about, wouldn't that be cool? But I don't know what it is. I don't even know. And everybody, I think there's a lot of different definitions of what channeling is.
Yes.
And Kevin, I really loved what you touched upon, because it sounded like your definition of channeling is like mine. Mine is just a connection that you're able to draw something from somewhere that's beyond you. And yeah. I'm a sports guy. I've called it the zone for all my life since I was 11 years old. I mean, I get in the zone and I do sports and I excel at sports. And as I'm doing this sports stuff, different sports, I'm like amazed at where is this coming from? And I know when I get really in a zone and I'm performing some sort of sports thing, and when I start trying to figure out how did that actually happen, then it goes away, all those things. So being connected and in the zone and channeling and things, I'll say now that Karen, we've been together for a number of years, and she writes things. And she's an amazing writer. She has her things called soul songs from way back when, and her soul songs have to be what I call channeled. And she says, no, they're not channeled. But she just sits and they flow and they're done. There's no going back and rewriting and changing a paragraph or any of that. She gets in a place and it goes and it's done. It's a one-page essay that's wonderfully written and in sequence and order. And anyway, so it's to me, I don't think any human can write like that. It's kind of like, for me, it's similar to Esther. Nobody, Esther couldn't come up with this stuff.
Exactly.
So
I
anyway,
totally agree with you.
I'm rambling on about what I consider channeling, but if you can maybe clarify some of that, or what you've
Sure.
discovered, what you've decided.
Sure. And my perspective on that did change when I finally called myself a channeling coach, because I was thinking to myself, I know a number of mediums who are really good at connecting in and receiving symbols and communicating with past loved ones. And how is that different than channeling? Well, it's not really, because you're still turning the radio station on. It's just what channel did you pick, right? And how does your body and mind receive that information? How do you interpret the information? I would say that if you're at the top of the emotional scale and in flow, or the zone, as you were saying, it's Mark, right?
Right, yes.
Yeah. Then you're channeling. Abraham says that you're channeling a little bit every day. Every day. He said, it's when you're feeling good, you're channeling. You're connected to the channel, so to speak. How it manifests is different. We're used to people like Esther Hicks and Lee Carroll and Daralanka, Bashar, being verbal trance channels, because they have the ability to take their mind and put it into a trance, and the subconscious takes the blocks of thought and linearizes it and turns it into the word equivalent. But that's just one form. And most of the channels I work with now, they either don't do that at all, or they don't go into a trance now. Their mind is there listening, but the work that they do is continual work of letting go, because the brain wants to think and be involved. And so the secret is being able to completely let that brain just be there on the side and have no thought while the translation is occurring. And that's what happens in sports. It happens in art. I have one who is an artist. She was channeling through painting. I have one who's a medical intuitive, and she's phenomenal. But she won't believe in herself, and that's a lot of the work that we're doing. She'll sit. In fact, yesterday we had a session, and she, right in the middle of the session, she says, "I've got to deliver you a message." It's one of the benefits, by the way, being a channeling coach. I have drive-by channelings. Drop something on me like, "You need to change your water content." Okay. And it's the coolest thing in the world. It's just amazing. And she picked out several things on the left side of my body. She said, there's a dark spot here, and I'm sensing that there's a nerve that's traumatized. And she said, is it vagus? Is there a vagus or something? And yeah, there's a vagus nerve is the primary nerve in the body, which it goes to a lot of different places. And she said, you should have this checked out. Well, a week ago, Suzanne and I found Suzanne through a friend. Actually, she's a client, another channeling client, has been going to a chiropractor who's an intuitive. He had brain injury some years ago, and suddenly he can read bodies, and he's the most remarkable man. So we've been there twice. Today we went again. And he's just reading all sorts of things. Your iodine's a little bit off here, and I can see this darkness, and I can see that you got a childhood problem here, and it was just like I was blown away after an hour with this guy. And then I have this session with her yesterday, and she says, "Oh, by the way, and you've got some metal in your fillings." She said, "You got to get those out." Well, he had told me that the week before, because they're affecting the same thing. Yeah. I go back to him today, and I give him this information from her. He said, "This is this vagus nerve." And he says, "Oh, that's perfect. That's an extra piece I needed." And she had told me, "Yeah, you got to stretch the nerve or something." And so he grabs my head and puts me up against myself and goes, crack. The problem's gone. It's probably been there since I had the brain surgery 12 years ago as a weakness, and now it's gone. That's the magic of channeling. Right? You be open to the answer, whatever it is, and you will receive, you will attract the answer through whatever the path of least resistance is. I love working with the people who are that path of least resistance for other people in their own special way. When I enter a channel coaching agreement, we have some idea of what they want to accomplish, what they want to open up to, but we leave it deliberately open, because I have to tell people what I'm telling you guys. You're not going to channel like Esther Hicks. Only Esther Hicks does that. You might be very, very close to her, but let's just not try to put a label on it as to where you're going to go as a channel. Let's just be open and see how it evolves. I had one client a couple months ago, maybe 3 months ago, and she was all gung-ho, very high energy woman, just lovely personality, sales trainer, and a law of attraction coach as well. And she said, I really want to channel because I think I'll get even better answers for my clients if I'm able to channel, go into a trance. She doubted her own answers. I mean, she was perfect with her answers for people. I mean, she was really doing the work, but she wanted to just have that reassurance of channeling. So we tried it. I would guide her into meditation. She'd get quiet, but she would never go under. She just, oh, I'm getting this and that. Like by the 4th session, I said, you know, what's your highest joy? And she said, being in front of an audience, doing sales training, doing law of attraction. I love the interaction. I love being with the people. I love that spontaneous back and forth. And she was so good at it. I said, that's where you channel. That's your channeling. It's your interaction. This is what I love. What we're doing right here, right now, you can probably feel the energy difference from when we started. I'm in that channeling state now. I'm responding to your energy, and I'm not in a trance or anything, but the energy shifts in that moment. And I've learned to be okay with that. I'm not going to be Esther Hicks. I don't want to be. I love this. I love the interaction. I love being on the sidelines and cheering. It's interesting that this tied into the biggest awareness I think I had in this was a couple of years ago when we had a meetup group for a number of years, 4 or 5 years, Law of Attraction meetup group. We'd have 50, 100 people, and we'd be on the stage and doing a little whatever Law of Attraction moment. In fact, I think I can get a picture here I can show you of that. And me being the IT guy that I was, I'd plan everyone out. I'd have a 9-page script and all the things we were going to talk about, and then leave some room for conversation. And it'd be an hour-and-a-half long meeting. And it was called the Billionaires Club, which we actually inherited it from somebody else. We didn't name it that. And it had 600 members when we took it over. And we had a lot of fun, but it was stressful. And I listened one day, a couple years ago, to Kyle Cease. If you guys know who Kyle Cease is, if you don't, find him. He's one of the funniest guys you'll ever meet, and he transformed from Comedy Central specials to transformational coach, and now he goes up on stage for 10 hours a day for 2-day, 3-day weekends with no script. He doesn't even know what he's going to say as he gets on the stage, but he goes into a meditative state before he goes on stage, and then he just says what comes out of his mouth, what comes to his mind. He brings people up on stage in 15 minutes. They've had life transformations, and it's funny. And I thought, oh my God, he's doing this 10 hours, 20 hours, and he has no script. What am I doing with this piece of paper here? And so I still made a little bit of an outline, just to have some idea what it was that I wanted to talk about, like the main subject and some wrap-up stuff. But as soon as I let that go, my conversations went to a whole nother level, because now I was trusting the information that was coming to me based on what was being pulled by the audience. I was becoming the channel. What's interesting is during that process, I could then notice dark spots in the audience. It wasn't visual so much, it was just a feeling like I couldn't look over to one side or another side. And what I realized was those are the people who didn't want to be there. Right? Those are the negative energy spots in the audience. And I trained myself to send energy that way over time, but it was very uncomfortable at first. And so all this is about developing the intuition and trusting in the now moment that you can step out and do whatever it is that you're being called to do. Let that energy flow, and then you validate yourself. It's taken me years to do this, but I'm at a point where I completely trust the process. Just like even with this, I got some notes, and I wanted to get some pictures to show to you guys. And I was tempted to make a PowerPoint presentation, but I didn't.
Yep. Kevin, I have one follow-up addition.
Please.
Just to make the comment about being in the zone and sports and all of that. Maybe 15 years ago, I don't know, somewhere around, after Karen and I really started playing with Abraham a lot, all my life, I used to think I'm going to get in the zone so that I can perform better at sports. When I realized one day, or over a period of time, I guess, but I realized that I play sports to get in the zone. It was like a way it was a reason, it was a place that I created. The more competitive, high competitive sports I had, the deeper in the zone. And I realized that I was doing that because I like being in the zone so much. Mm. So I guess I think that's what your clients would feel when they're channeling, for why are they channeling? And you know, they're going to practice and do all this other stuff because it feels so good. You want to get clients because it feels so good. It's okay to be selfish. It's not to go save the world or save somebody else. It's all really about connecting to your inner being. It's more time you spent really seriously connected to your inner being and having fun and joy and all of that and excitement and life force was running through you through all of that. So I realized that I played as much sports as I could possibly do because that's the time that I was the most connected, in the zone, challenge, whatever call it. It's that place.
I love that you shared that, Mark, because I had a similar epiphany actually this last year, many epiphanies this year. One of them came through some channeling. I think it was with Oprah, Ramona's channeling. They asked me about my meditation because I've got a very busy mind, and meditation has never been quite, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, kind of thing. And I need to be more grounded. I still, even today, I still need to be more grounded than I am. And they said you need physical activity to meditate. They said your body has to be involved in your meditations because the brain isn't, you're just not quieting the mind. You're so used to being busy. They said, so what can you do physically? Well, you can take a walk in nature, that's good, but it's Michigan, you know, it's 30 degrees out. Not going to put my bare feet in the snow. Thank you very much. Not my favorite thing. But there weren't that many other things that I can do. And I remembered, well, I used to love playing volleyball. I was on leagues. I played year round, sand leagues, indoor leagues. And then I had brain surgery and lost some balance. And I was always afraid to go back to it. And then Suzanne and I got married, and, you know, again, other things come up and you just kind of forget about it. And I said, you know, maybe it's time to try to play volleyball again. And so I did a little bit of research, and there's Kevin. So I got my old suit out, and I went and found, as it turns out, as a couple miles from here, there's some pickup games, some open volleyball leagues. I've come to not really like the personalities. There's a lot of competition, and I just want to play to have fun. So I'm probably not going to go back there. I played a handful of times, but it felt really, really good. And then the mind is engaged. You're having fun, or trying to have fun with the people. You know, they're a little too serious, but I'm having fun cheering people on, and you know, and all the skills start to come back. And I'm rusty as hell and 12 years older, but you know, what the hell, I'm having fun. And so I know that another league is going to show up for me, or some other place to play volleyball, because that was so meditative for me. So I'm totally relating with what you're saying here, Mark.
Yeah.
I totally get it. And I would love to find something else that will, you know, would bring that juice out as well, because maybe springtime will be helpful.
There's always time. I'm 68 years old and I play tennis, but 5 days a week at least. So, I mean, that's right now my current sport, my passion. So anyway, I think Melanie had some stuff, so I'll hush up and let her.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark. I did have a question.
I just want to get this in. Mark, you said 68 years old. I didn't think you was a day over 60. Mel, please continue.
So anyway, you got me off track totally, Jonathan.
I'm sorry, but
I was going to ask the question. My experience has been that sometimes I question when, you know, I think I channel in two ways that I'm aware of. Well, maybe three ways, but one is that I can listen and write. It's a journaling dialogue. And then I wonder, because it comes so easily, and it's probably only been recent I started questioning this, is how do I, and do you get clients that wonder, how do I know whether I'm more thinking it,
yeah, or
whether it's my writing my connection to spirit?
Yeah, that's a big part of the journey. That's a great question, Melanie. In fact, that's at the heart of pretty much everybody I work with is the question, how can I tell if it's me? And if I'm working with one of my own clients, if I'm going to start taking clients on, what if I give them bad information? Or what if it's not the pure stuff coming through? And I had those worries in my coaching earlier on. And then I realized, and I may have actually had this in a channel, I think I got this in a channeling session. They said, you don't create somebody else's reality. You can't do anything to hurt somebody else that they don't attract. All you can do is align your own vibration. And so if it feels good to you, who cares what it's called?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Just do it.
Yeah. Because I mean, I experienced some of that. I mean, a feeling of being high, a feeling of being connected and aligned. When I talk to clients, when I'm at work and I'm in the zone, I feel like I'm in the zone and we're communicating. I feel like I'm channeling.
Yeah.
As I get information, you know, about, I work with supplements and I'm like, I don't remember reading that, but but it turns out it's information that, you know, was accurate. And really my desire is to help them, you know, help them on their journey to whatever supplement works for them, or what, it might not be a supplement, it may be something else.
Yes,
but knowing that their health is, you know, that they have health and that they can tap into it.
Well, that's great that you're doing that, Melanie. So you hit on a very important part, which is validation, and Mark kind of said it as well. So validation has to start with you feeling good. That's your validation, right? So you start with that. If you're feeling good, if you got that, you can feel that tingly flow going through, and you're in a great zone. So let that be the thing that propels you to get started, and then your validation will come from the clients. And don't, again, I have this conversation often. Don't push away the validation. Somebody says, like this young lady who read me yesterday right in the middle of our call. She completely doubts herself, and Suzanne's been to her, my sister's been to her. I've sent her a number of people just to play with her, and they all say, "Oh my gosh, she's so good! You know, when's she going to be doing this for a living?" But she won't listen to it. She won't take the validation. So get tuned into your clients and notice the changes, the energetic, even the words or whatever, and build on that. You've got a gift, no question about it, Melanie, and there are people out there who can really benefit from your gift.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Thank you. What else? Should I be looking at the chat window?
Kevin, excuse me.
Yes.
Kevin.
Yes, John.
Thank you for the interaction from all the others within the group.
You're welcome. This is my pleasure. I'm the lucky one here. See, you guys are doing exactly what I was hoping you'd do. Is you're helping me to channel this, bring this information through, and there's nothing I'd rather be doing. So what else needs to be talked about here? What else do you guys want to know about either what I do, channeling, or?
I want to know, but are you and Susan a team of some sort?
We're a team. We're married.
Well, Susanna,
I want to share a story though.
Yeah, go ahead.
About Mark, you talked about what it feels like to be in the zone and why you went into sports, because you wanted to get to that feeling. And I don't know that when Kevin got diagnosed with the brain tumor, and then we listened to this Law of Attraction, Money and the Law of Attraction, and we really became hooked. And we ordered every CD, every DVD, starting from Alaska 2004, and watched them all. I mean, for the whole year that tumor grew. And right at the end, when he finally got appeased, we went to the workshop, and, you know, those words above Esther's head, "In your pain, have hope." It was all amazing. And what was interesting was, and we didn't know this was going to unfold, because he had his IT business, and I was loving Law of Attraction. I was teaching a little program for women, but bottom line was, I was in a networking group, and the men in this group, I was a women's life coach, wanted to learn more about Law of Attraction because I started talking about it. And I said, well, I'm a women's life coach, so let me go home and talk to Kevin. Now he's in the middle of big headaches, and the tumor's growing, and he's going to have surgery in September. This was August. And I said, you know, these men want to learn Law of Attraction, which was the first time I'd ever heard a man ask that he wanted to learn, because women were more open. And he said, I'll be happy to, let's put a program together, and we'll teach men and women. How does that sound? I said, great. And so he and I worked together, and everything we'd listened to all that year, all the Abraham stuff, the workshop, and And what was really cool is because Kevin is an IT person, he, you know, put a PowerPoint together. He made it really nice pictures, and I was teaching a women's course with 3-ring binders and sticky notes, but it was really nice to work together because we each had our own personality. Well, what I noticed, and this was the most amazing thing about the zone, I don't think either one of us really understood what it felt like to be in the zone. I don't know if you remember this, Kevin, but at this point, when we pulled it together and we did these very first 2 workshops for the men and women in this networking group, at that point, Kevin was like 2 weeks out. He was going to have a surgery in 2 weeks to have this tumor removed, and his headaches were bad, and he was feeling bad. But when we focused on what we loved, this Abraham material, and we wanted to help other people understand it, those 2 workshops we did, one on a Friday, one on a Saturday, I think it was, and they were, those days, 6 hours long. Kevin was so in the zone teaching it, and me too. He had no headache the whole 6 hours. None. And I said, you didn't have a headache? But he was channeling. I know you were. It's the first time I ever saw you just answer their questions. It just flew through you. I wished I'd recorded because it wasn't you. It was you speaking this amazing
Big me.
voice. Yeah, it was very cool. And that was when I had this huge awareness that this is why we came together. And I'll tell my story in 2 weeks on Valentine's Day night, but you have to wait for that one. But I thought, this is why we came together. We're going to help people understand this. This is so cool. And for many years we did teach and train in that from that point on. And then we evolved more, of course, and Kevin is doing that. And this, I want to talk about the marketing too. I see that the woman, are you married to Mark? You have Mark Toms on your, okay. There's not 2 Mark Toms. Okay.
Yeah, that's
you.
me, Karen, right.
Oh,
we are
Karen.
not technically married, but we, and so there's two names, but yes, I'm Karen, and we've been together for 16 years. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I didn't realize you kept talking about Karen. I didn't know who Karen was.
Right. Where's Karen? Where the heck is she?
Yeah. Oh, anyway, I just want to share the in the zone thing. I won't get carried away and whatever else I was going, Kevin. It's all about you tonight.
Oh, okay. Was that it?
Yeah, I'm back to you.
Yeah, but that's a good. It's always a good confirmation to pay attention when that happens, because I don't. You tend not to notice it, or I hadn't noticed it or given it any credit. This is like what we're saying about the channels themselves. You don't. It's your natural way of being, and you don't put any value on it. It's another part of the getting into value and charge money for what you're doing, or get some sort of, get into the energy exchange, so you can share the gift. And people say, oh, I thought everybody heard voices. I thought everybody could read auric fields. I thought everybody could, talk to their guides who are sitting on their shoulder. No, I don't have that. And so we tend to say that what we do is easy and therefore it's not valuable. And that's a huge mistake. If you got something that comes to you, feels good and flows in some way, then you have value to not only yourself, but to other people. And it's okay to own that. Took me a long time to own that.
Yeah, and I'll just do briefly, Karen, what I wanted to just share our experience in marketing and all of this, but when you're in the zone, when you are doing what you absolutely love without any reservation, you're owning it, you're shining a light, the people come to you. There is no need to have to do this and that and emails. What we found, anyways, Kevin and I, we used to teach a program. Yeah, we've tried that. And then, but when he started shining his light just this last year, and this is who I am, like, it's amazing that I can say, I can't believe it, because I do believe it. I mean, it's law of attraction, just bringing you the clients. And we watched one DVD, Abraham, it was about the artist. Remember that one, Kevin? We used to show that in our programs.
My favorite.
And he made jewelry, and he got up in the hot seat and he said, oh, he was just on and on how much he loved making his jewelry. And he was asking Abraham, but I just can't sell it. I don't know how to market it. And Abraham said, now, remind me how it feels what do you feel like when you're making the jewelry? And he's totally in the zone now. You can just see him lighting up. He's so exciting. And Abraham said, that's the feeling place you need to be when you talk about who's going to be buying your jewelry. Is that how it went, Kevin? They said it's 2 creations. So you're creating the jewelry, and you're really good at that, but you've got to separate out the creation of the jewelry being on somebody's body and the joy that they're experiencing it. So you got to shift to that vibration and get in the enjoyment of that. And then when you do that, then the marketing happens automatically. And that's sort of what's,
you know, we've known this for years, but now I've given myself permission to actually do the thing that the combination of things that I love the most, that, and I got the judgment out of it, and now doing it. And again, I haven't spent a dime on marketing. I haven't spent any effort at all. Like I said, I mentioned on Facebook once, but all my clients are coming from the woodwork.
The universe.
The universe. There's no no logical rhyme or reason how things are unfolding, except that it's a non-linear path that I can't see as a human being, and I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with that. There's another aspect of this that I wanted to add in that has been an undercurrent, which is pointing to the next phase that I can't see but know is there. More than 30 years ago, before I knew anything about this, before I'd taken Dale Carnegie training, I was scared to death of people. I had panic attacks, all that kind of stuff in the computer world. This is the early 80s. I had a vision of being in front of people, teaching self-empowerment of some sort. Some first days of Tony Robbins and Wayne Dyer that I had learned about, and I had this vision. And of course I said, well, that's, you know, that won't ever be me, but boy, did it feel good. So you fast forward until I took Dale Carnegie in 2002, where going from not being able to even say my name in front of the group, let alone a talk, to 12 weeks later talking in front of a room of whatever 60 people and people I didn't know confidently. Dale Carnegie's, if you want to learn how to be confident and understand human relations and talk in front of people, Dale Carnegie course, it's 100 years old. It's the best thing on the planet. Doing that, and then moving forward now into this channeling area, that vision has still been back there. And every once in a while, something will give me a hit on it. Like I've had now in the last year, I've had 3 different channels, people that I've worked with have brought that forward. The one that I talked with earlier in this year, she said, I see you in front of a large organization. One of them said Congress. I am never going to be in front of Congress. I will tell you that right now. But I did bring that up with Oprah in one of our channeling sessions, and I said I couldn't see bringing any of this material to Congress, and they said, think about it. I said, how did they get to be in Congress? Right? They have to be aligned to some degree, right? There may be politicians, they may be doing, you know, some backhanded stuff here and there, but they understand this material. They understand alignment. I learned at one point that Lee Carroll, who channels Cryon, who's very, very big picture channeling, actually channeled in front of the United Nations. This was several years ago. That was mind-blowing to me that when I heard that. So it gives you an idea of where we actually are coming as a society. The doors are cracking open as the undercurrent people like us who are kind of in the shadow, so to speak, vibrationally, you know, people can't see us yet. They're coming online, and we have bigger callings. That's why we woke up early, to go through our crap now so that we can be the light for those who are going through it and don't understand this. And they're going to be lost when the systems of politics and finance and so forth collapse, because they're all systems of control, systems of fear, and they have to collapse with this new wave of energy. Yeah, exactly, Dory. It's exactly it, and it's going up and pretty darn quick. And so I had that, and then Oprah painted a picture for me of the millions that are out there, and then I had another channeling which came across about a month ago, and again painted the picture of there are millions of people. What the energy that I'm feeling, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are feeling it as well, when you get that rush of energy and you think, oh, I would love to share this with people, or whatever it is that's pulling you.
Oh.
What Oprah told me was on the other side of that. I'm sorry, what? Oh, on the other side of that is the.
Hard to say.
Yes.
You want to share this with everybody. They wouldn't get the message unless they are in alignment with it.
Exactly. But the point is that they're coming into alignment. They're coming to the edge of that alignment. And the thing that Oprah told me was what you're feeling, Kevin, when you're getting these visions. In fact, I was sitting in a little studio. I've been doing a lot of interviews. Cable Access show interviewed me several months ago, Suzanne as well. And I was sitting there as they were adjusting things, waiting to get started. And instead of being in this little tiny studio, I was all of a sudden in a big studio. Like just in a moment I had a vision and then it was gone. And Oprah said later, after I talked about all this, I said, you're feeling the summoning of millions of people. That's what is coming through you. You're starting to get to you're getting to the place where you can feel their energy, and their energy is coming to the point where when the door cracks open, even just a little bit, they're ready for at least a tidbit of something. And I know how to boil things down to make them pretty simple. That's part of my IT background. Is I had to really simplify things so people, particularly executives, could understand what the hell we were doing. And so I naturally kind of do this. And so I'm seeing something open up that I don't even know what it's going to look like or where it's going to go, but I'm feeling that energy, and it gets a little bigger each day. And so what I did was a while back, I'll show you this here. I searched the internet for pictures. This is 5 million people. It's some big rally. And I've got a couple of pictures of millions of people, some different rallies and so forth. That's who's calling us, boys and girls. And that's just a fraction. If you think about it, there's 7,000, 8,000 million people on this planet. And they're all at some degree of waking up. And a lot of them are a lot farther along than I think we thought they were. And that they were even just a few years ago. It's an exponential curve of awakening thanks to technology. So Jonathan, I'm sorry, I kind of interrupted you. Did you have something else you wanted to share?
You wanted me to share something? I'm a cowboy on a steel horse I ride, wanted, dead or alive. And that goes to your, picture 5 million odd people and everything. Anybody knows me, I love to sing. And if it hits someone, my job is done.
Okay.
I'm shutting off.
I have a little comment, Kevin.
Please,
Wouldn't. Okay. I love what you have just been talking about, because you are very well spoken, and you are very tapped in, and you are very open to the message of Abraham and all of us, and I feel like you're right on track with it. And so I feel like you got your head on right. And so I wouldn't mind you being in front of a bunch of people saying things. And so that I feel good about you moving forward that way. And so I applaud you doing that. And I feel greatest, like I was just feeling so cozy, like I was just like really relaxing when you were saying that. And I just was really wanting to express how relaxed and comfortable I am with the notion of you stepping forward. And I'm like having a little tear of joy moment right now about that. And I don't even need that to be a thing where you were showing that crowd all standing together at once. I don't even need, I see that was neat to see that many people, but I don't even think that it would be a gathering of, it was neat to see it in terms of, that many people. But of course, I feel like it would maybe even be 10 times that many, but not gathered all at once, but maybe something cyber like this, where we're more in the comfort of our own home. And they told 2 friends, and they told 2 friends. And the video was shown, and the video was shown. But also,
on board with that. Go ahead.
And also that I could see you easily, comfortably speaking in front of groups. And I don't know, like that Kyle Cease that you mentioned, and I can't wait to go. I heard his name before, but I am unfamiliar with him at all. But I do like that off the top of the head talking, because anytime I've been to a wedding and they're reading off those index cards, the listeners cannot hear it. We can't. It bounces off our ears. So the only way to get into our ears and into our hearts is for you to speak from your heart. So I encourage you to keep on with that notion. And
Thank
you
you,
got
Karen.
this, dude. You got this.
Yay.
And so I do see you speaking in front of groups of people comfortably,
Yes.
in cyber and in physical form. And so keep on keeping on.
Well, your support is really valuable to me, Dory, you and everybody here.
Yeah.
Because it's,
Kevin,
yes, Jonathan.
you said earlier you was not a storyteller.
No.
You are.
I'll own that. Thank you. I needed to be reminded.
Yes, you are. You know, you, as I will say, my journey may not be as exciting as others. Yours is.
Thank you, Jonathan. That's very
Most
sincere.
welcome.
Yes.
Kevin,
One of the things that I like about you, Kevin, is that you're not really hogging the spotlight. Like you'll bring Melanie and say, now you shine. You know, you'll bring Jonathan and now you shine. And you'll bring, you know, others up and you'll say, now you shine. And that's exactly the kind of person that we want speaking to the multitudes.
I'm not running for Congress, Dory.
Right. Right. We
Yeah,
don't
no,
need
I know what you're
need
saying.
another
I know what
road
you're
hog.
saying. Right, right. I love it.
Kevin, we're going to need to, everybody stay, don't let anybody go away, but the recording needs to be probably ended in about 5 minutes or so. If you want to, anything you want to make sure you get, you know, to wrap up for the recording, and then we can continue.
Okay. Well, the most important thing to me was the notion of the calling that we're all feeling here. And you're feeling it as well. You just might not identify it as that. And I think Dory's point was exactly spot on. It's not that they're going to be in one place. I printed those out myself just as a reminder that I have this mission. And because I forget, I get back into my head and I'm working with a client or two here and then, and it's not that I've got to be on a mission and got to accomplish something. It's that there's a calling that if I shut it down, then I'm not enjoying it. I'm not going in that path. So it's just that visual reminder that, oh yes, open yourself up, just feel the energy, let yourself be called in that direction, and then opportunities like this wonderful group here will just naturally show up for you without any effort, and you can have the fun and get to play with people, and there's no work involved, and it's totally different than 30 years of being in IT. That's why I still need pictures. I'm totally with you guys. Well, that's I think that's all. I've said more than enough, and I really appreciate you guys being so supportive and participating in this and being on the same team. God, I love you guys.
Well, let's all take our microphones off of mute and show Kevin our appreciation in verbal form and physical dancing.
Yay! Go Kevin!
Thank you guys. You're so sweet.
Keep going.
No singing.
Yes,
Thank you guys.
a lot louder than he usually is.
All right, I'm going to start the recording now, and then we can start talking, whatever.
Let's talk behind our backs.
Now we can start birds, whatever we want now. All right.